there's another little reveal for you to do on today's episode. Is that right?
Yeah, so
For something that's going to be happening. All right, welcome everyone to a long time ago. This week we are going to be talking about the upcoming Star Wars collecting event, Farthest From, in a village not too far from me. And to help us talk about it, we've got in one of the annual event founders, Star Wars collector, an all-round great guy who you should remember from our recent video, owner of all the cool stuff. It's Dave Tree.
Ta-da!
Hello, Dave. How you doing?
How you doing, Dave?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
All good. Thank
Yeah,
you.
very good. Thanks, mate. Very good.
Very excited to find out a little bit more about this event that we've already got tickets for, haven't we, Martin? So
we have indeed. Yeah, we're making a weekend of it.
Jump straight
Yeah.
onto that. Yep.
It's a whole weekender, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm pumped. There's a mountain of stuff still to do. There's a whole bunch of stuff still to announce and that, but no, it's good. It's just it's about 10 days or so, thereabouts. Yeah, so it's under 2 weeks. I've got
At
it
time
marked
of
on the
recording,
calendar.
yes.
Don't worry, it'll be ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. As this goes out, it'll be a week today.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. So before we jump into this year's schedule, do you want to give us a little bit of a history about the event?
Yeah. No, of course. So, for those who have never heard of the show before, Farthest From is a Star Wars toy fair and collector show with a slight difference. It's more of a love letter to when I stepped back on with collecting Star Wars. So in the mists of time in the early 90s, the only way you could get hold of Star Wars stuff, I mean, this is pre-internet, this is pre-eBay, this is pre a lot of things. You'd have to go to toy fairs and things like that, and it would quite often involve a long journey to some village hall or church hut. It'd be dark, it'd be cold, it'd be musty, you'd be rifling through stuff to try and find these things in a vacuum of lack of information. You were trying to understand and learn all of these things and try and find out where you can get them from. Now it's relatively easy. And just over 10 years ago, where I run all the cool stuff is a toy retailer. I was finding that a lot of collectors were coming into particularly vintage Star Wars from only an online side of things. They hadn't really ever engaged with buying their toy collectibles in the physical space, and getting to talk to traders, getting to it's if they see something online and it's the one that they want, they buy it. Whereas if you go to a show and there's a couple of these, you've got the freedom of the choice. Are you buying it based on the condition? Are you buying it based on the price? It gives you a greater flexibility. It's also more satisfying as well, because everything that you buy has a story to it. You can remember you probably can't remember every eBay purchase that you've done or transaction that you've done on a Facebook group, but if you've bought something at a show, you can more or less say, oh, I got that from Sandown, I got that from the NEC. You have a greater connection to these things, and it does give you a greater sense of satisfaction with your collecting as well. So I started doing Farthest From as a love letter. It's called Farthest From for a reason, because we're in the middle of nowhere. So it is you've got to get out and travel down. The hall is the size of a tennis court. It's not very big, but in there we cram in as many vintage dealers as possible. The general rule of thumb is nothing after 1995, so it's everything from the 70s and 80s. You do get the odd exception with things that are directly related to it. We have a couple of guests and artists and things like that are also there normally. This year it's on a Saturday, which is, it normally runs on a Sunday, so we've kind of switched it around the format this year. So that's what's happening on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday, this could be either absolutely incredible, or it could be an absolute car crash. But we're going to do a swap meet. So you pay one fee to get in, right?
Yeah.
And the rule is you can just, if you want to turn up and you just want to buy stuff, you can buy stuff. If you want to turn up and you want to sell stuff, as long as it's whatever you can hand carry in one trip, you can sell it for that one fee. So it's more like a swap meet. And it could be anything. Like, it doesn't have to be vintage Star Wars. It's going to be predominantly Star Wars, but I know there's a load of GI Joe collectors coming down. It could be anything, and I don't know if you've ever done the room sales at Celebration, but it's using that ethos and that idea that you just literally find a bit of floor space. There might be some tables, but like, you just set up and then you go for it. And you'll have people who are buying, selling, trading, swapping, whatever. It's a free for all. And that's what I mean. It could be either the most incredible thing ever, or it could just be like this horrific car crash. But the rule is one fee, whatever you can hand carry in. So everybody's got spares and trades. Everybody's got surplus to their requirement. This is a good opportunity for you to, especially you, Martin, because I know you got a lot of like vintage collection all behind you there. Like, that can all go for a start. So bring that down and chuck it out and see what you can get for it. And then in the afternoon it's panels as well. So I forgot that. So like the idea is to learn from other collectors and things like that.
So if I can just take you back, Dave, to Friday, which is when the event semi kicks off. Friday evening, is it? So can you talk us through, the whole weekend from Friday all the way through to Sunday? I know you've done quite a good explanation of Sunday, but let's start Friday so everyone knows.
Yeah. So we've broken it up into like a couple of different chunks, and you can either go all in, or you can pick specifically to the thing that's relevant to you. We've always been really lucky with Farthest From to have guests that you wouldn't normally find at other toy shows or just shows in general, like Comic-Cons and things like that. Putting out there an invitation to say, hey, do you want to come down to the New Forest for a weekend? Normally works quite well. But in the past, we've had Neil Scanlan, who is the head of the creature shop for the sequel trilogy and a lot of like current sort of like Disney productions and things like that. Last year we had Pablo Hidalgo, who is from Lucasfilm, and he is the law advisor this year. And he's never done a UK show in like this sort of capacity before, but we've got Steve Evans coming over, and he is the senior design director at Hasbro. So he is the guy responsible for all of your Star Wars product. So although this is primarily a vintage show, it's fair to say a lot of what Hasbro's doing is influenced by vintage products, either in the packaging or in the sense of like the retro figures and things like that. But also Steve himself is a massive toy collector. On Instagram, he has like about 20,000 followers, which is just talking about like just random like toy collecting and things like that. So he's coming down, and on the Friday night you can join him for a beer and a burger. So that's a little event that we've got going on. It's very limited spaces, and that's at the George, which is a pub in Fordingbridge. So a little private gathering with Steve there. On the Saturday itself, we've got the Farthest From toy show. Then on the Saturday night, we've got the Christmas dinner show. And that's also being co-hosted with Generation Skywalker. And then on the Sunday, we've got the swap meet in the morning, and then the afternoon, the panels. We've got other guests as well. So we got Brian Hickey as well. Brian Hickey is better known on the Palatoy collecting side of things. He's been involved with 2 Action Force books, which is all about the UK history of like GI Joe. So he did the Total Action Force, which was volume 1, and then volume 2 was the Hasbro years in Marvel Comics. And he recently done with Bob Breakin, former Palatoy designer, My Palatoy Story, which was Bob's autobiography of all about the history of like the Palatoy Toy Company. He's about to embark on a new project, which is Star Wars related, and that's where he'll be down at Farthest From to like talk about that. You've also got Luke Kofi Bainbridge as well from No More Heroes,
Cool.
Generation Skywalker, Fantha Tracks. There's Matt McCartney, who is a local writer and a vintage collector, but he's just successfully launched a Kickstarter comic, so he'll be there just promoting that. And Impatient Potato as well, a young artist local to this area, Maddie Beer. She was with us at London Film and Comic Con, and a huge hit. New fan, but she'll be there like with like different sort of like bits and pieces that she's been working on in terms of like projects and stuff like that. So yeah, it's quite cool. It's quite engaging.
So you got,
Awesome.
you got a stacked card, as they say.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of things that you got to keep a bead on and work out what's going on and things like that. So there's always bits and pieces.
Sure. Wow, fantastic.
That's great. So actually, going back, you mentioned No More Heroes there. There's another little reveal for you to do on today's episode. Is that right?
Yeah. So
for something that's going to be happening.
Yeah. So for those who are not familiar, No More Heroes. Luke Kofi Bainbridge is a pro painter. He mostly does action figure customs, but also like all like the Games Workshop miniature painting as like commissions and things like that. And just over a year ago, was it a year ago or 2 years? I can't. It's all a blur. But we started a project of recycling old toys, so like, upcycling old beaten figures and give them a new lease of life. He paints them up. We come up with new characters and stuff like that, and then we do them as a box set. And we're up to, for this show, the 6th set, which is pretty cool. They'll be available at the show, and that's takes the total number of figures that we've done collectively so far up to 36. So it's bonkers, really.
So what I'll do is, I mean, you sent me the graphic for it. So we've got the Coronet City Dock Gang.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, do you want to give us a bit more information about the characters, and I'll flash them up on the screen so people can see?
So the Coronet City Gang, Dock Gang. If you remember in Solo, you got a very little glimpse into the seedy underworld of Corellia, and you had the White Worms, which was run by Lady Proxima and Moloch, but they won't have been the only gang there. And if you were into the expanded universe from days of yore, Dengar was a swoop rider who ended up being horrifically injured in a race against Han Solo. So he got his bitterness towards like Han Solo. So in that speeder race that you see at the start, or the chase at the start of Solo, you see a lot of docks and people covered in sort of like wetsuits, and well, not wetsuits, but like sea gear and brine and things like that. So I figured that like with the White Worms are like doing one bit, what if Dengar was his gang was in control of another bit? And we did the first themed set last year, which was like a Rogue One set, and it had Melshi and Andor and a couple of other like characters as well. So this one is an all-in-one like set, and it's looking at Dengar in a different deco, which if you look at Dengar's prop outfit, it is a mishmash of stormtrooper gear and snowtrooper gear. It's literally all just like cobbled together, but because the guy is so heavy set, the actor that did it, you don't, and the way it's like painted and presented, you don't necessarily, but if you look at his leg armor and his torso is a stormtrooper, but the top bit is like snowtrooper. It is literally just like the whole thing's just been cobbled together across the two. So we were like assuming like, what if he just got hold of that armor and he's, nicked it out of some container or whatever. So he's kind of like dressed up there. And then you got Salotti. Sal is the master of coin. He goes around and extorts all the dock workers for the money, and he uses Michael as his heavy to enforce that. You've got Lapete, who is the arms dealer for the gang. He goes around smuggling with Burgess Dan, who's a Salastrian, and together they're all a bit nasty. And then there is the mail away, which is, I don't know if you can see that. This is Officer Sevens. And Officer Sevens, I get so carried away with this stuff. Officer Sevens is the mail away figure for the set. So if you buy the set, you can then purchase Officer Sevens, and Officer Sevens is the hard-working lawman trying to bring the Coronet City dock gang to justice. And there's plenty more in the works. There's all these other ones that we've got that we'll be bringing out soon that will continue that thread and that. So it's all part of the fun.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that. I mean, they all look awesome, and I would say anybody who is unfamiliar with these should go back to our video that we did when we visited your store, and they'll be able to check out the previous waves that you had that we looked at when we were there.
Yeah. I remember you were digging the Coruscant Guard, where that was a sort of like a nod to Shadows of the Empire.
I love the Melchi one.
Oh, that one's one of my favorites. I mean, it's great when you look at these things and then you realize. I mean, the idea comes from like Action Force, because Action Force was, the same buck, the same figure that was repainted half a dozen times, and you didn't always realize it was always the same thing that you kept buying. It was just how it's like decorated, and that's the beauty of what Luke does from No More Heroes, is he can bring out these details that you've never really seen before or appreciated before, or he will just make you look at the figure in a completely different way. And then where I'm coming up with the silly ideas, and this one has been a silly idea, because it's just like, I want to do more of the kind of, when it comes to the bad guys, it's like the Empire and Jabba's guys, and then kind of bounty hunters. But there's all like these different fringe things that have been touched on over the years in both comic books and films and video games and TV shows. You got Skeleton Crew coming up, and it's fair to say that that's all going to be sort of by all hints very pirate based and things like that, and I love it. I think you have more fun with that stuff. So if you can come up with some crazy harebrained idea that kind of sort of makes sense, then that'll do. So go with it.
Absolutely, no, it's fantastic. Yeah, I think you'll probably get a lot of characters out of that show, I should imagine, that might appear in the future, because it does look like there's a vast array of good characters on the show. So we'll have to wait and see.
I would love to do, I mean, not that you ever get like 20 odd Max Rebos ever, like in the beta bin anyway, but like it'd be funny just to do the dad or whatever, to.
Yeah.
I think it's Neil, like Neil's dad or something like that. Because one of the things that we had at one point. I mean, in this set, we've got Bib Fortuna, and he's painted up as Lapete. But one of the things, one of the ideas I had at one point, and I was just told, like, no, that's just really stupid, was I was going to do Ula's dad, and he was just going to have like a little like missing poster like that, and it's just like. Nobody wants to buy that. Like, that's just so stupid. But like, I just thought that'd be right. Really, he's kind of gone on a pilgrimage to try and find his daughter, then finds out she's been eaten. So.
I think we need that figure now. You can't just throw that out there and then never make it. I mean,
I think it's probably more indicative of my mental state, coming up with some of these ideas.
Oh man, That's hilarious. Yeah, we need the wanted posters
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
very
yeah,
least.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or
Yeah, it's
missing
like, have
posters.
you seen my daughter?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. On the back of a
Awesome.
milk carton, maybe.
Yeah.
Blue milk. Oh,
Blue
dear.
milk. Yeah. Awesome. Well, they're going to be available at Farthest From
Yes.
then. How can people find tickets to
So
the show?
you can get tickets in one of two ways. You can order online. So if you go to allthecoolstuff.co.uk, and you'll see there is a tab called All the Cool Stuff Events. And then if you click on the tab from there, you can order your ticket. There's three options. There's a weekend ticket, which is access to both days. There's the early bird ticket for Saturday. And there is then the swap meet and panel ticket on the Sunday. From there, you can also book tickets for the meals. So for the Friday night meal and also the Saturday night meal. If you're interested in those, you need to book those online. Reason being that all of those booking, all of those meals need to be prepared. So we need to know in advance. It's not like deciding on the day and then booking those. And also, like the Friday night in particular, it's nearly sold out already. So that, because the idea is that it's more of an intimate gathering, so there's fewer spaces. So that's nearly sold out already. On the Saturday night, it's not far off selling out, but it's also down to what the catering, which is like the Crown Pub, which is opposite the town hall, what they're happy to do. They might go, like, that's it, we're closing the book because we can't realistically like do any more.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in doing those, I strongly recommend booking those online. Failing that, if you're just coming down for the shows and you haven't had a chance to book online, you will be able to pay on the door. On the Saturday, there is the early bird option, that's 10 till 12. And then after 12, it then goes down to reduced rate. And then on Sunday, you can pay on the door, but that is a blanket price of £6 entry. And as I said, that gives you the chance to like sell your own stuff, or just come in and just go around and frantically like pick up all the stuff as quick as you can before anybody else goes. You know, I think it will be like a piranha feeding frenzy. We sort of did something similar last year at the Christmas dinner, and I was like, whoa. So that's let's see if we can like do that again for the Sunday.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, we'll put all of the information down in the description below as well, so you can always click on that link for Dave for your website. But otherwise, I think that's it. That's everything we've covered, isn't it, Dave?
Pretty much.
Happy?
Yeah. No, I can't think of. I mean, you guys will be there. I mean, surely
we'll be there,
that's
so,
reason
we'll be
enough for people wanting to come down. You know.
I don't know, Dave. You probably shouldn't have mentioned it, to be honest.
Yeah, you probably got more pull with us not doing it. But
you've already made the deal with the devil by like speaking to myself anyway. So like, you know, like anything, you know, this when you're the bottom feeder, everything is up from here. So like, awesome. Don't ever say that.
Oh no, don't be silly. Oh, brilliant. Well, thanks ever so much for coming on and talking about it.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for joining us. Martin's just killed my outro there, but yep, that's great. Yeah, just hit like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure if you want to get tickets, make sure you get the tickets. And we'll see you down in Fordingbridge on the 7th and 8th. We'll see you there.